I hereby open tonight's meeting of the Patton Township Board of Supervisors. And I apologize for the slight delay. I was trying to get my computer set up. I would like all who can stand to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're gotcha. We're going to get announcements, and then we're going to call for comments from the public. So, any announcements? You want to go to the rail study?
Yes, yeah. So there's a rail passenger study survey that's being done by Penn State in collaboration with the CCMPO. And this is aimed at understanding how people in the region would travel to major nearby cities and whether they would be open to make that trip by rail if there would be an improved regional rail service. So we have a link to that survey in the agenda packet itself, and then we will share that out on social media as well.
Okay. And I know it was just discussed last night at the CCMPO meeting, but I don't know if Supervisor Cruzy is going to mention anything about that survey, but the rail survey, not now, but maybe no. If you...
Yeah, I don't need to mention anything more, but they did have a banner flyer.
It's a great survey. I've already taken it, and it's just looking at where we're going to go from here. I know a lot of people are very interested in rail and or connection from State College to one of the rail hubs nearby. Great announcements. And then any additions to the posted agenda? Does anybody want to add anything? Could be of de minimis nature. Okay, seeing none, we'll go now to public comments. So this is where I invite the public here or online if they have anything they wish to say that's, again, not on the agenda already. Okay, seeing none, we're on to public hearings. So the first, actually, we've got a series of hearings that are all, I guess it's a series of hearings.
It's one.
It's one hearing, but there are a number of topics all relating to the proposed Park Forest Middle School. And the first is on conditional use application. Who is what?
Jenna is going to take that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Jenna Wargo. Thanks, Jenna.
So I don't know if everyone at home can see this presentation. On a new platform for now. So we have the Park Forest Middle School conditional use application tonight. This is tax parcel 1803061A. It's about 18.56 acres. It's zoned rural residence, so it's R1. And the conditional use application is requesting the school, State College Area School District, to utilize this property as a school at this location. So in your R1 zoning district, it is a permitted use and it is permitted via conditional use. So for new board supervisors, we did this for Kava last year in the fall, so very similar process. I'm going to roll through what a conditional use is. It's permitted in a specified zoning district, and one that may be subject to additional zoning requirements that applicants must meet as part of this process. In addition to that, as the elected officials, you can require additional conditions as part of this approval that you may deem necessary for the health, safety, and welfare. So that is what we will go through tonight. I will say the reasonable conditions and safeguards, other than those related to off-site traffic improvements. So I think that was the big disconnect that we had with Planning Commission when they reviewed this conditional use. They were very focused on the intersection of Valley Vista and Little Lion. Very valid. Large concern to be addressed when you review the land development plan. and that is yet to come. So tonight you're going to be looking at this conditional use. This is strictly for the zoning permit use of this site. And then we'll also be looking at lot consolidation as part of this plan. The land development plan is still outstanding related to finalized traffic study that needs to be approved by PennDOT. Once that is back with us, that plan is ready to go. Everything else on staff-wise has been addressed. So we're kind of just waiting on traffic from PennDOT at that central office for that. So roll through, kind of handle all of this.
Oh.
So the site itself is about 278,000 square feet. It's a 3-story school. There will be 384 parking spaces on site. 68 parking spaces will be off-site. They will be located at the current middle school. I will say that that was one of the biggest issues staff had with the applicant. And the board may recall our initial meeting with the school district board as well. We've come a very long way to getting very close to meeting that parking requirement, just recognizing not for everyday use, but when there are special events that require a lot of parking. So I will say that staff, we are happy with where that ended up in this process, but I did want to note there are 68 parking spaces off-site. I'm noting that because it's one of the conditions staff is recommending, just to ensure that they stay as part of this development. If they would ever go, they would need to be accommodated on this site. So you'll notice in a lot of my little things that I'm highlighting here, these are related to the conditions that staff are recommending. In addition to the parking, we have about 59.68% of impervious coverage that is going to be on this R1 zone property. The R1 impervious coverage maximum is 20%. I will note that your ordinance doesn't really differentiate between uses when it comes to impervious coverage for lots in the R1 zoning district. So a single family home and a school and a essential service building, they all have to meet that same 20% requirement, which staff, we do that in a way as a burden. These are very different uses and they require a lot of different amenities to accommodate these different uses, and we're actually looking to recommend, looking at some of those amendments and requirements so we can fine-tune uses versus requirements, because a single-family home should not necessarily be held to the same standards as a school or things. So we are recognizing that, and that is something that can be waived. We're going through all the conditions that we are recommending. And I'm happy to answer any questions now, or as we're going through the conditions that staff is recommending in this week. So I'll leave it up to the board what they would like to do.
I have a question. I'm not certain if it's appropriate now or later. I understand that the 68 parking spaces are going to be in the parking lot that's currently extant. I think that's the right word, around the middle school. And then there's going to be a path built from that parking lot to the new middle school. Was there any consideration to move that parking lot closer to Valley Vista and then having a path from there? Because in fact, there's going to be a cross light, a stoplight, crossing light.
Would be ideal, however, that significant portion that appears to be open land right next to Valley Vista on that side is stormwater.
I wondered about that. Okay, that was going to be my next question. Thanks. Okay.
All the stormwater.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Thank you for that. Okay.
All right. So the first condition, land development plan should not be reported until a traffic impact study resulting from the required signal warrants analysis have been completed and reviewed to the satisfaction of the township. That was the big outstanding comment from the planning commission, just concerned about essentially an off-site traffic improvement, which legally is state of Pennsylvania, we cannot tie an off-site traffic improvement to a conditional use. However, with this condition, we tie the land development plan and the traffic impact study together. So one cannot move forward without the other. the traffic at this specific intersection will be addressed for the land development plan, not necessarily this use.
And I would just interject here one thing that's kind of hot off the presses. The central office of PennDOT did approve the signal warrant analysis for the traffic signal at Little Lion Drive. So the traffic impact study has now been submitted to our traffic engineer for review.
With that signal?
With the signal included. So that's
Okay.
all moving forward as you're doing the conditional use.
Okay, thanks for that, yep.
The other outstanding conditions, no certificate of occupancy will be issued for the school until all of those improvements are in place, inspected, and accepted by the township. It's pretty basic for that. Also part of this, throughout the construction and during occupancy of the site, pedestrian and vehicular access to Circle Park shall be maintained in a manner acceptable to the township. That is one of the conditions staff is recommending. Recommend this will be an active construction site, but still trying to maintain that access for township residents who want to utilize the park at any point in time. The other yellow line up here, during the construction, the applicant shall install and maintain fencing along the haul track. No development is allowed to occur on that parcel, so ensuring that there is that protective fence in place, so we don't have to worry about any issues with that deed restriction for that property. And then I'm also highlighting here is that path that Chair Whitman discussed. So prior to the final plan approval, the applicant should provide a shared parking agreement for the use of these parking spaces. I've highlighted them in that larger yellow box across the street. Part of that agreement needs to preserve that availability of that off-site parking for the use associated with this new school. It can't be, we don't really know what the school wants to do with the existing middle school, but it's essentially reserving those spaces for this new site. It will include provisions addressing that long-term use, maintenance, as well as that proposed pedestrian access over to the new site. That it will be maintained, it will be lighted for the entirety as long as that parking is located off-site. And then in the event that the school district wanted to sell that existing school and or wanted to redevelop it and do something else with it, if those 60 some odd parking spaces were to leave, they would need to be accommodated on this new site somewhere.
Gotcha.
And then stormwater, this is part of that impervious coverage that I noted. So they are well over on that 20% impervious coverage. I am highlighting 2 of the 3, or 4 technically, of these stormwater retention areas. These are underground underneath the parking areas. We have lower right-hand corner, that's the existing one. A lot of the runoff will also be going to there. And then there's also one up at Amplewood that you see circled there. So it is exceeding our impervious coverage that's permitted in that R1 zoning district. But part of one of the conditions is that the applicant shall fully mitigate that additional impervious coverage through the approved stormwater management plan.
And Supervisor Magruder has his hand up.
Yep.
Good eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just for clarification, you said the parking across the way at the school district was to sell that. They would need to accommodate the parking on the existing.
On this new proposed school site, yes.
Where would that reasonably go then?
It would involve probably taking down a lot of the existing trees that are along Valley Vista, which wasn't an ideal scenario for the school board or staff. We recognize this is a park, we want to try to preserve as much of the trees as we can, but it's a tight site.
I couldn't hear the first part of that question. Was Supervisor Magruder referring to, or Ms. Wargo, trees along Valley Vista?
Yeah,
I
so
thought we were talking about
essentially,
drainage.
if the school were to get rid of their property, move the parking spaces from the other side,
That was the,
where would they accommodate it on
Okay,
this
thanks.
site? And we have looked at areas within that, a lot of the tree area along Valley Vista. We're trying to preserve as much as we can.
Mhm.
There is room
Yeah.
to accommodate it, but it was this environmental.
Okay, so if it comes to pass that we need this, that's, the space is on site.
Well, yeah, so I guess, I mean, you can't predict this. I don't know if there's any way of getting the thoughts of the school district on what they're planning moving forward, if they would be selling that. I get the idea of wanting to preserve, that, the trees on that, on Valley Vista, and I'm imagining, like, if they have an idea that they might be wanting to sell that, I don't know why they just don't do that now, because it would seem less disruptive, and also it would potentially, mitigate some of the safety issues too, in individuals crossing that road. So, I think it's maybe minor right now, but not really at the top priority list, and I can see, down the road that being a problem. So I don't know if we are able to get some foresight into, their thoughts on what they might do. That would just be helpful.
Yes, please, that'd be great. Yeah. Oh, and then, yeah, we'll let Randy Brown, Mr. Brown talk, and then Heidi Cruzy. Okay, Supervisor.
I'm Randy Brown from the State College Area School District. The trees, that wooded area on the property of the new site, it was heard from the township that was a concern about, as Jenna mentioned, keeping the wooded, as much wooded area. It was also a concern of the school board, as Jenna mentioned. And finally, the cost of putting parking on that site, on that area because of the slope, was very consequential. The other mitigating, or the other factor is we don't have any plans to sell or not have the current Park Forest Middle School site available. So having that additional parking there was not a concern for the school district. We are looking at future uses for that site, but the board has not made any decisions at this point. So that's very well, those points are very well taken, but we feel that this felt, for multiple reasons, this was the path of least resistance and an acceptable solution.
Okay. And I know you were juggling a lot of issues, so
Right.
thank you for that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Magruder, did that answer your questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So yes, now we're back to Ms. Wargo. Oh, I'm sorry. We're back to,
Well, only for continuing on the parking, because I do have some questions.
Okay, sure,
Or
please.
Do you want me to wait till the end?
nope, good. I would,
So what drives the number for required parking?
For Patton Township, it is gross square footage. So given a school, that takes into account everything, hallways, it takes into account your auditorium, your gym. So there's a lot of empty space when we take those calculations. A lot of municipalities are changing that calculation over to net square footage, so it is usable space. So you don't count the hallways, you don't count these other extra spaces, bathrooms.
So it's regulations from Patton Township. So
Yes.
that could be revised
Yes.
during this process to
Not-
consider?
Well, not during this process, but it could be revised by the township. Some of our zoning we know is probably out of date, so we could go through and revise it, but it would not apply to this plan because the plan goes under the ordinances that are in effect when it's submitted.
Oh, okay.
And the board will see a waiver for 12 parking spaces, I believe. In addition to the parking that was being provided through this, we could not fit 12 spaces.
Then a follow-up, and again, it's kind of related to parking, is the park itself, that's there, Circleville Park, has parking from both entrances. And has it been thought about in terms of, I guess you could argue it could be shared, but also the fact that it could adversely affect activities at the park, where I would anticipate, isn't some of that parking a lot closer or more convenient than parking across the street? I'm just like, when you go to the high school where, Westerly, where so many people end up parking at the Weiss. I just anticipate the possibility and a potential problem that a lot of people would park in Circleville. I was just wondering if that has been considered and discussed.
Yep, it has, internally staff-wise, we are getting the parking for Circleville Park realigned to line up with the school district's entrances a little bit better. That was discussed by staff. I've gone to that park when CRPR has tournament stuff going on, and it is completely full, and it would be a great opportunity to have this private-public partnership to address parking, because the same instance of a school event and people utilizing the park parking, there could be a CRPR event and we are utilizing the school parking.
And we do have an agreement with the school district now as it relates to the parking that's there. And as part of this land development process, we're going to update that agreement that we have with the school district to make sure that Circleville Road Park is protected through this process. And Susan Wheeler has been involved at every step of the process with this.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, actually. I like that, like the way this is being solved, asked and solved. So now I guess we're going back to you, Jenna.
Yes, so stormwater, yes, well, they will be going over the impervious coverage. They are fully mitigating all of that impervious coverage based on the stormwater ordinance for the township. That's based on the Spring Creek Act 67 plan. So that essentially is, it requires that post-construction runoff be less in rate than pre-construction runoff. So it should be improved for this area as well.
Can I interject a question? Anybody, any board members, if you do have a question to interject. We got a comment from a Patton citizen, was a written comment, concerning the stream that originates in the, I guess on this, the school, proposed school property, that then drains or continues along Douglas Drive, behind houses on Douglas Drive. And we've heard comments in the past of the need to regulate that flow. So
we are actually working on addressing the Douglas Drive ditch. We got money from the state to take care of that, and then we're going to be looking for some funding to take care of the water that goes behind in that channel, the drainage channel behind. So we are working on that, and I don't think that is all from the school. I think that is just, it's old infrastructure that needs to be updated.
Right, but I think there was concern that anything added to that property would, could potentially impact that stream. So
And
it sounds
again,
like you're on top of that.
yeah, and that's something that the township engineer has reviewed, and Ryan has also looked at through the land development process, and you'll see that with the land development review as well. So we've been on top of that.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, appreciate that.
And those are really the end of the conditions included in your agenda that staff have identified. I do have renderings. This was from the initial Board of Supervisors and school board meeting. There is a lot of, and I like the renderings because it really shows the topology changes for this site. It is a tough site, and we're trying to make this fit. But overall, I believe it will be a LEED certified building. That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any other questions, comments, concerns.
Jenna, did you mention about the hot tract?
Yes.
Okay.
Protecting that. So any questions from the board? Yes, Ms. Rod.
Jenna, I just have one question. Did you hear from any of our constituents that live in the area about the parking at the school, that it does flood? Or has that been taken care of?
flooding at the existing middle school. We have not been made aware of flooding issues. We were made aware of queuing and pickup and drop-off issues for the existing site.
Had you heard of any flooding?
Long ago, and I was just concerned.
Okay.
So, thank you.
So I do want to address several of the issues that were brought up by a resident who was concerned about the environmental impact of the school. And I want to address those because they're also concerns that I have had, and I think maybe others will have. And I did some thinking, I've done some talking, and let's see, I think I'm coming to a good place that's important to me. I look at things with a climate lens, and I've also started looking at things with a public health lens, which is different from the welfare concerning crossing the street. So I know that's one of the parameters that is at the health, safety, and welfare that we need to achieve with this. Yeah. So in regard to not so much the safety of crossing Valley Vista, but the fact that students that historically have walked to the middle school will now be bused. And I did some soul searching on the fact that, and I see some people smiling because they know we've had this discussion before. I think all of us are beginning to see the world through a climate lens, which is if we can cut down on greenhouse gas emissions, we do. And so I think it's important not that we let we see those also as roadblocks, but as ways to rethink solutions to things. But I think I've come to terms with it, but I think it's important to get it out there because I think I'm not the only one who has these concerns. So with the additional bus routes, and actually, can I get a point of information? Do you know how many bus routes would be involved in the Park Forest neighborhood?
I believe less than 6, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Randy, why don't you, Betsy, it might be helpful, why don't you explain the no walkers situation?
Yes.
Because it's less to do about Park Forest and more to do about Park Forest Elementary, so I'll let you explain.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
So right now, Valley Vista Drive is considered a hazardous roadway.
Right.
According to the Department of Transportation. And so
Yeah.
if that designation could change with some work with between the township and the school district for the middle school, potentially. However, that would have an adverse impact on the elementary students as well. And what I mean by that is, especially now that we're going to have a traffic signal at Valley Vista and Little Lion, there would be improved walkability and crossability of that roadway for the middle school students. However, until there is a sidewalk on the same side of the road as the current school, we would still not want to have students walking at the middle school level across the street, okay? The other impact with the elementary students is if Valley Vista would no longer be a hazardous road, then the elementary students that, for example, live on Galen Drive, up near the movie theater and on the low side of the street, those students would then, walkability is not just a school-by-school designation, it's a district designation. And I don't think there's anyone in this room or on the planet, I hope, that would want elementary students crossing Valley Vista at that red light up at Carnegie. And so therefore, the district wants those students to be able to be bused, and therefore, the same then would be held true for the students at Park Forest Middle School as well. Does that help?
I would just correct, it's not a hazardous road designation, it's a local limited access highway designation.
For your world, it's that.
Yes.
For my world, it's a hazardous road.
I was like, wait, don't be calling it hazardous now.
But
Because Patton Street is the same way.
absolutely.
Creates a barrier
Absolutely.
When I was a kid, many years ago.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So as an example, students that live on Lynn Street could live within a boundary that could be walking to Radio Park Elementary. However, North Atherton Street is considered a hazardous road for school district boundaries or reasons,
Yeah.
not necessarily township or municipal.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. It does.
And we understand the walkability. We understand also that we're facing challenges that some parents are going to say they can walk, they can ride their bike. That's their choice.
That's
And
their choice.
we have no ability to stop them from doing that.
Okay.
But we will be assigning all of those students, except for those students, albeit a few number, that live on the same side as the new site or Circleville Park.
Right, right.
There will be some students that can take the multi-use path,
Yes, they will.
shared
Yeah.
use path, excuse me,
Yeah,
thank you.
actually from my neighborhood.
Hey,
And there were
okay.
kids actually in that neighborhood, Sandy Ridge Road, that would come down through the woods and then cross Valley Vista to go to
Correct,
middle school.
but they're assigned a bus. That's their
Yeah,
choice.
That's exactly right. Yes,
Right.
they did.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so along the lines of safety is also the issue of health and welfare, so that if more people are walking, it is better for their health, and that we should be building our communities and designing our schools and so on with that in mind, in a perfect world, right? But we're also seeing this through the lens, and these questions are being asked, and so that maybe the next time something is proposed, people will think twice or three times about that. So I get that. But it was also suggested to me that I might bring out as a topic that the school district, which I know has talked about electrifying school buses, could designate school buses in that area, or designate a certain number of school buses that would be, save the equivalent of energy that would have been used in the Park Forest area. So that is a way to sort of address climate change, even though not directly, but in a parallel project. And, okay, great. I think those are, yeah. Also, just a question, would there be a crossing guard at the stoplight on Valley Vista? No, okay.
Not planned.
Okay, okay. And regarding the sidewalk along the side of Valley Vista that is, on the side where the current school is, would that be something that we would talk about that?
So there is no proposed sidewalk on that side of Valley Vista.
Okay,
So we're not talking about that. Now, you are going to talk in 2 agenda items about doing a traffic calming study
Yes.
for
Okay.
that stretch of road. That could be something that we look at as part of that traffic calming study.
perfect. Okay, thank you so much. So thank you for allowing me to bring up these concerns that I've heard and also have shared, and I think we'll be looking to a future where we build those in at a very early stage when we're looking at projects. Not that you didn't, and I know that you have many factors, so it's very complex. Okay, so at this point, we are,
So technically, you need to open the public hearing.
that's what I thought, okay.
Yes.
All right, so I hereby open the public hearing for, regarding the conditional use request for the Park Forest Middle School project. And so now we can have additional questions from the board. Is it typically, the board discusses first and then we open it to the public, or vice versa?
You can do it either way.
Okay, so I'll just open up to the board. Is there anything else you want to discuss? We have had discussion through the presentation, so that might have answered questions. Seeing none, and Mr. Magruder, any questions? Let's see. Okay. So any questions, concerns, comments from members of the public, either in this room with us or online? And I'm looking for
We're not seeing any
hands.
online.
I'm not seeing any. Okay. So seeing no comments, I can close the public hearing. Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay. And do we need to make a motion? Yes, a motion can be made to close. Would somebody make a motion to close the public hearing?
So move to close.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. So it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. So the public hearing on the conditional use request has been closed.
And then if you're comfortable with the findings of fact and the conditions, you would make a motion to have myself prepare those and a written decision for your consideration at the March 11th, 2026 meeting.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, just clarifying, so that's not actually voting on, I want to just bring up, this is the same topic that Planning Commission voted to not recommend?
Yeah, let me
Explain the
address,
nuances here.
yeah, let me address that, and Jenna
That's
alluded to it in her
Mhm.
presentation. The Planning Commission, when they talked about this, they got very stuck on the traffic concerns, which are very big and very important traffic concerns. I'm not downplaying that at all. But as Jenna explained, off-site traffic can't become a condition of the conditional use. So we have the condition in about the land development plan not moving forward until all the traffic pieces are taken care of. So once we tried to tell them this during their discussion of this, and once they got done and voted, then they realized that maybe they had made a mistake and they tried to re-vote, which they couldn't do. So it stood as them being against it, but I don't think at the end of the day they actually were, because I think they understood what's going on. I think they were confused at first. They thought this was the land development plan as well as the conditional use hearing, and it's two separate pieces. So tonight, Heidi, just to answer your question, you will say if you're okay with the conditions, and if you are, then staff level, we put together findings of fact with those conditions in it, and then you take a formal vote on those conditions at your meeting on March 11th.
And my understanding is that the Patton staff supports this.
Yes,
This step,
yes.
because there's lots of steps.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
But you're also saying that there's another step in this process, which would involve the crossing of Valley Vista.
Yeah, so if we want to look at it, let's look at it in steps. I think that's a great way to look at this. So tonight is step one, right? So step one is you're having this conditional use hearing, you hear all the proposed conditions, you're okay with it, you say, yes, we want to move on. Or you say, no, we'd like to, and we did this with CAVA, remember? With CAVA, we talked about it a couple of meetings.
Yep.
So if you're okay with it, we move on, we put together the next piece. So step two, you vote on that officially March 11th. And then step three, this is the large outstanding piece, and this is moving along. If they're on tracks, they're sort of on the same side-by-side tracks. Step three is the land development plan, but that's contingent upon the traffic impact study, and we just got the materials yesterday from the traffic engineer. We just found out 2 days ago, maybe it might have been yesterday, from PennDOT that they approved the signal. So that's step three. You won't see step three until we're done reviewing that traffic impact study. We're confident with that. All the other conditions, and I will say we've been meeting with the school district quite regularly for a couple of months now, actually probably like a year now, but all the other elements of the land development plan have been taken care of. So the traffic is the biggest piece that's still outstanding at this point. So you won't see step three maybe until April. It just depends on how soon we get the traffic impact study reviewed, what issues we have with it, and the discussions we have with the school district and their engineers. So steps 1 and 2 we're kind of taking care of now because it's easier to keep the train going and then finish it up at the end. I've used a lot of weird metaphors, I apologize.
No, thank you. Yeah. So I will entertain a motion that, we've already closed that, and should we need to continue? I'm sorry, I've written it.
That you direct the manager to present the findings of fact.
Right.
For your-
The findings, and what are the findings of fact? That basically what we've decided on
Yes,
here. That was
with the
my
conditions,
other
yep.
question. Thank you for that. Okay. So basically, it's recommending that we then direct the manager to assemble these findings of fact and present them, and then we vote on this at the March 11th meeting. The other motion would be essentially that we continue discussing it at the March 11th meeting and vote on it at a later date. So I'll entertain a motion, the first motion, and we'll see if we get that, and then I'll entertain a second.
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
Please.
Would we still be able to discuss it in March, or would it just be a straight vote?
Yeah, you
if
can
we
still
proceed?
discuss it before you vote.
Okay, so there was some concerns.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I do have to say that I had a long discussion today with somebody about this concerning the environmental issues and health issues going across the street, which is not the conditional use, now I understand, but I think it's, yeah.
And I would just
I
add,
understand all the thoughts.
I'm looking at the solicitor when I say this, but if you discuss it at your March 11th meeting before you vote, which you can obviously do, but then if you decide there are additional conditions, you would have to actually reconvene the public hearing, correct?
Yes, because you have 45 days from what we do today to render a decision on the MPC.
Okay.
I'm okay then, making that motion.
Okay, so the motion is to direct the manager to come, the findings of facts and a written decision, and then we will just see it again on March 11th, and we will vote on it. But of course, we will have discussion before we vote on it. Okay, so that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Okay.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any, thanks, Mr. Magruder. Any opposition? Okay, great. So we'll be,
We'll see this next month.
do this next month, next meeting. We are now moving on to the Park Forest Middle School lot consolidation plan, which should be a little more straightforward.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so also, part of this project, this is one of those steps, this is the lot consolidation plan, so we have two parcels here. One we just looked at, in addition to that one, there is a sliver, and I'll show you the next slide what it looks like, but parcel 18016-259B, it's about 7.4 acres, and it's zoned R3 medium density residence. So the plan proposes to consolidate both of those tracts into a single parcel. It's going to total about 25.96 acres. I will note there are two different zoning districts for these parcels, and they will stay in place. Consolidating these parcels does not change the zoning designation, so we still have an R1 portion of the property and an R3 portion of that property. So the breakdown of these two parcels, that long slender one along Valley Vista, this is the R3, in addition to the R1 school site that we just looked at, and they will be proposing to consolidate these two into one. Staff has reviewed all of the plan submissions, all comments that are outstanding are administrative. So, board, any questions?
What's the benefit? Why is this a necessary thing or a convenience or?
That's a good question.
Great question.
I believe the largest reasons that we are requesting this is to help with stormwater and access to the school property.
So what's the implication if we don't? What's different?
Nothing necessarily, however, in order to not permit a plan, they would have to not be meeting a township ordinance.
Right, you don't have the ability to say no to a plan in Pennsylvania unless it doesn't meet your ordinances. And if it doesn't meet your ordinances, then the applicant is given time to cure that plan. So Pennsylvania law says basically the applicant has decided that this is in their best interest, this is what they want to do. The township doesn't take any action or decision on their decision to do this. The township looks at it from the lens of, does this meet our ordinances? If it meets our ordinances, we must approve it under Pennsylvania law.
Oh, so it doesn't matter, we have to do it unless it violated it, and we don't know why they're doing it, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, we can't, Pennsylvania law doesn't allow us to ask why.
It just seemed like a reasonable thing.
It's a very reasonable question, it's just the way the Pennsylvania law is structured, we don't ask that question.
So I'd like to point out to everybody here that when Heidi Cruzy starts asking questions, we all learn something that we didn't know, we didn't understand. Thank you, Ms. Cruzy. So, there we go. So with that, I believe, is there a motion on the floor? I
No, we
forget.
need a motion.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion, please. concerning the consolidation of the two lots.
I'll do it again, because.
And a second? A second?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear. It's the ears. Thank you. So we have a motion, a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. So we have the consolidation. Okay. And do we have? Okay. The traffic calming study. And we're almost,
This is your last Park Forest
Item D.
related thing.
okay.
All right, so I'm going to take this one. So, as you all may be aware, Valley Vista Drive was actually designated as a local limited access highway by the Board of Supervisors in the 1980s. And the intent at the time, and we were actually just talking about this in a meeting I was at the COG, was that Valley Vista would someday become a 4-lane connection from Business Route 322, which is North Atherton Street, to Route 26 College Avenue. Because back in the 1980s, there was actually no Interstate 99, and it was not contemplated that there would be an Interstate 99. So in the ensuing years, Interstate 99 was built, and the plans along the Ferguson section of the connector, which is Science Park Road, changed. And that section of the road has now more traffic signals, and it's been more narrowed in locations. So the plans for the connector from Business Route 322 to Route 26, which was commonly known as the outer loop, because at the time there was an inner loop, an eastern inner loop, a western loop, and an outer loop, all proposed all over town, were abandoned in the 1990s. So because of the limited access designation, Valley Vista kind of grew up as a road that has very few traffic signals. It actually has 2, one at North Atherton, one at, one at Lowe's, and one at Carnegie Drive, so 3. And then it kind of goes into Ferguson Township. And it has some known speeding issues.
Mm-hmm.
The road is also very wide through there. You have the shared use path on one side, which really, if you're driving, you think, I have all this room, it's great. It's not great if you're a pedestrian or you're a bicyclist, and it's very pedestrian and bicyclist aggressive. So one of the things we've heard throughout this entire process with the school, and this is the issue that the Planning Commission really talked about, and you guys talked about at the joint meeting, is that road and how students are going to navigate that road. Because even though they're going to be told they have to ride a bus, they're going to do what the ones in your neighborhood are doing. They're going to try to cross Valley Vista, and they're 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids who think that they can cross all that traffic. So part of this process was talking with the school district about, can we do a traffic calming study? And a lot of the pieces of the traffic calming study are actually already done, because we have the traffic impact study that was done and the data that was gathered for that, plus we have the data that we gathered when we did the shared use path. So we reached out to McCormick Taylor, who's of course our traffic engineer, and asked for a proposal. And we've reached out to the school district to ask if they would consider splitting the cost of doing a traffic calming study. They're considering it, their facilities committee talked about it, their board will take it up at their first meeting in March. The whole idea of this traffic calming study is that, not that anything that's in this study will be done the day the school is open. The only thing that will be done the day the school is open is the traffic signal at Little Lion Drive, but that we can then come up with a plan, and then we can go out and apply for federal funding, state funding, other funding, and implement a whole safety corridor, a traffic calming corridor through there from Amblewood Drive to Devonshire. What that looks like, I don't know, but we need to find a way to slow down the speeds in that area, because that is a huge problem, and we need to find a way to make it safer for folks to be able to cross the road. We've had discussions about putting in our own kind of connections and paths through there as well, so we'll need to look at that. But we want to kind of do a comprehensive look, and then we can go out and look for grant funding after this plan is adopted and approved by us, and having the school district's input, and the fact that they're also willing to look at this and, you know, considering helping with the cost, I think is a good sign that they take this as seriously as we do. But when I say that this keeps me up at night, it keeps me up at night because I know what that stretch of road is like, but I also go to other places in the state and I see what they've done on similar stretches of road. And though I've never been a fan of roundabouts, roundabouts have been used quite effectively in Harrisburg and the Hershey area and other areas where they needed to set apart corridors. And there are other things that I don't even know about because I'm not a traffic engineer that we can look at to help make this a little safer. So we're asking you to approve this motion, understanding that the most it could cost you is the $16,870. Likely will not cost you that, again, because we're waiting for the school district to decide what they're going to do.
Great.
Would this be in 1 year, or would this be over multiple years?
No, the idea is we would get started now and hopefully have something done later this year for you.
Oh, okay.
She's just talking about the traffic study.
Yeah, and then we would do the actual implementation, we would look for funding. That is not something we're gonna bear the cost of. And with the school district being involved, there actually opens the door to more funding avenues for us in terms of grants.
Great. Any other questions? Or-
Just a question,
Oh,
will
yes.
they also consider the impact of moving that traffic off Valley Vista Road and wind up on Circle Road?
Yes, we have to look at all of that.
So I'm just making sure we look at both of those corridors, because I think people who travel through will just move over.
Yeah, and we have speeding issues on Circleville Road as well,
Mhm.
No doubt.
as someone who speeds, yes.
Yeah, that's a very good point, though. There's a relationship.
Yeah. Okay, so any other comments, concerns, questions? I will entertain a motion that we accept the proposal from McCormick Taylor.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, great. And a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye? Yeah. Is what seconded? Is that what you asked?
No, Madam Order, I'm supposed to ask if there's a discussion after you make the motion.
Oh, thank you.
It does.
See, I told you. Any discussion before we take the vote? Okay. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. The ayes have it. So we are going with the proposal.
Can use those funds, so, yeah.
Ms. Ross.
This question starts to Larry, our finance guru. Do we have the 10,000 he's asking?
That's a tough question. Probably not this year. You know, I'm looking more at probably $2,500 this year. And then maybe, if this is a long-term goal, the Airport Alliance could come back again towards the end of the year when we can budget something.
We could actually think about doing, if you were interested in this, doing a CIP project. So you could give maybe $2,500 now, and then we could do a CIP project for a couple of years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, where you do 5 or 10,000 a year, and that money goes into the fund, and then that's in the budget every year from 27 on. Just a thought.
Right, because we're talking about, you know, when we did our budget, we're already budgeting a deficit, so anything's going to, or a use of, I should say, a use of our fund balance. So, you know, I would be more comfortable in the $2,500 range. I understand as a person who's flown a lot and flown out of State College a lot, I know the convenience with flying out of State College, but there's also the cost to fly out of State College. When I was doing it for business, I didn't really care. I just flew out of there because it was convenient. But he's right. For leisure, a person's going to look at, as I do, what it costs to fly, because you could go to anywhere out of State College Airport. I mean, I used to fly, you know, to Beijing and Paris and everywhere out of State College Airport. So it's not the location that's the problem, it's the cost. Somebody's going to drive the extra time it gets to Pittsburgh to save the money.
So let me, any contribution would be great to add to the fund. And what's probably equally as important as getting the dollars in there, and I'm talking to all the municipalities. I'm meeting with Ferguson Township on Tuesday night, the borough on Thursday night, College Township last week approved a contribution. So I'm going around and meeting with I'm going to be meeting with the county later in March, College Township Industrial Development Authority, and I'm also reaching out to private companies as well, looking for their contribution. They use the airport a lot. So talking to even institutions like Mount Nittany Health and bringing them on board. The more community support I have
it's really, really important when we go and we're talking to the federal reviewers or even to the airlines that they see this broad coalition of community support. So I would say having any contribution, 2,500 would be great. I'd love to have Patton Township listed on our website as one of our contributors. And when we sit down, we say, listen, we have our center region municipalities are on board with this. We don't need to tell them how much you contributed. I'll offer two other thoughts. One, you talked about like ongoing or future contributions. I don't know if this is possible given how you guys budget and approve budgets and things like that, but even like signaling a pledge of $10,000 now, and you just provide $2,500 towards that pledge now and $7,500 towards that pledge next year would be. The efforts that we're doing are going to be ongoing, and there's no guarantee that we land a flight the next 3 months or the next 6 months. We could, and hopefully we will, but you know, these things they're ongoing, and there's a possibility we won't land one until next spring. So you know, I think we're in a place where you know, a pledge would be even better because it shows the power of what we have, and we could condition that to say, hey, that portion of the pledge wouldn't be available until 2027. So, yeah. So that's I just offer that as a thought to be able to kind of put you in the same category as a college township where they've contributed 10,000, and just it puts it in the same category. And a pledge versus contribution at this point in time is okay.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Scott?
Yes.
And that is, you mentioned, you know, going on and getting federal grant, and this could be used as our match.
Yes.
What is commonly the amount of the match? 10%,
So,
20%?
Yeah.
And does a pledge help you in that match?
Yeah. So it would absolutely help us. When we go and we submit our application, we have a consultant that we're working with that puts these air service grants together. We just had a call with them last week, and we decided on 750 is probably our number that we're going to go after, and he felt like 250 was the number we should have as a match. So it's basically, you know, 25% of what your total project would be, $1 billion.
Okay.
And $1 million would be a fantastic pool of funds that we could have serious conversations. And we talked about the ultra low cost airlines potentially to Florida, adding that to our air service landscape. But we are really focused on like a flight to Charlotte. And that would open up our region to, you know, a major hub. And so we're really interested in that. So when we talk about our priorities, it would be, number one would be a flight to Charlotte with one of our legacy airlines, most likely American. Number two would be that ultra low cost carrier that would get our region to Florida. And the interesting thing about those ultra low costs, if they come in and they get established, sometimes some of those airlines will quickly pick another destination in Florida or another destination that they go to, Myrtle Beach. And if they start to see the success, they will build upon that and make that successful. And then number three is Delta went away. They've been gone for the Detroit flight for, I think it's about 1.5 years now. We have talked to them. They are interested in coming back. It's probably not until next year, 2027, maybe into 2028. They've just got some corporate things going on and how they're realigning some of their airplanes, their assets, where they want them to be in place, but they absolutely have signaled that they're interested in coming back to State College. So those are our top three targets. And again, having this pool of funds to be able to have those conversations in a meaningful way and compete with what we're competing with regional airports all over the country.
So they left. Why would they come back then?
Well,
Why did they leave?
it's very interesting. Airlines, it's not linear. It's not how we might think. Like they didn't leave because there wasn't demand on that flight. They left because they had other priorities around the country that they were trying to fix and move assets around or move planes around or move pilots around. So, you know, the airline industry is very interesting. It's not quite logical in their thinking. They have a lot of algorithms they do to figure out where they want to be. And so The way that I've come to approach it is, let's do everything we can to put ourselves in a position that an airline would pick us if all their conditions line up that they would want to be here. So that's what we were doing. There was never a Fly Stay College fund before, and so when we were attracting air service, we would get late in the process, and the airport authority or the Penn State would come to us and say, hey, we need community funds. And it would be we need 2 weeks to pull a serious amount of money together. We were never successful. It was an inefficient process, and it was ineffective. And so we lost a lot of opportunities by not being proactive and being prepared. So that's what we're really trying to do as a part of our strategy, is to be in the best position possible that when opportunities present themselves, we are, as a community, are absolutely ready to go and have these conversations. And I can tell you, since we had the Air Summit back in October and we created the Air Service Alliance, and I mentioned it, we have had 4 meaningful discussions with 4 different airlines. That was not happening before. And had an airline reach out to us and say, hey, we want to have a conversation. That was not happening either. It was all us trying to pull airlines to have discussions with us. So it's working the way that we want it to work. It's an exercise in sort of getting everything lined up, ready to go, and then being patient and being ready, so when the opportunity comes. So,
Yes, Ms. Rowe.
This question is for our solicitor. Betsy, if the wording of pledge, is that if we pledged so much as the going number of 10,000 and we don't need it, even after is that still like a contract that we have to follow up on?
Well, I think it's all in the language of the pledge. I mean, I think it depends. There's a lot of case law out there on pledges, mostly dealing with people who make pledges in different states. But I think the staff can work through that with the CBICC to give them what they need, but understanding that it's based upon whether we have sufficient revenue. There's a lot of government entities that make a lot of pledges, and then they put at the bottom, provided that we have sufficient tax revenues to pay for it.
Okay, that's what I
Sorry,
needed.
but that's
Yeah.
yours.
That's what I needed to,
Yeah.
that fine line. We move kind of fast to make things happen, but that fine line that we're not protected.
We can work out the right line.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other?
I'll mention just one other thing that I didn't have in my remarks. So I mentioned the 4 entities that make up the Air Service Alliance, which is, I'm really here on the behalf of the Alliance. But CBICC, our role has been the fiscal steward of the fund, so we are managing a restricted fund specifically for this purpose. So CBICC has taken on that role as the fiscal steward of the funds. And so I need to clarify that I'm here for the Air Alliance and what we're trying to accomplish.
But you said there were 4 parts?
4 parts to the Alliance.
Yeah.
So it's CBICC, HVAB, Penn State, and the Center County Airport Authority.
Gotcha, okay. And before we make any decision, unless anybody, I want to make sure all the board has had a chance to speak, or the audience. So I'm putting on my climate lens again, and before we commit anything on a long-term basis, I would like to bring rail travel into that. We know that there's currently a survey out on getting rail travel. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yep.
And I know it doesn't draw the same passengers that air travel does, but I think that we need to be cognizant of the fact that it's lower in carbon emissions. And I think that part of my job is to help facilitate other ways of transportation. So
That's great.
You know, I would like to have a discussion with other board members and also with staff about how we can contribute, how we can invest in this vision of multiple modes of transportation. So even sailboats, heavens, you know, on sailboat, but
Bald Eagle,
Anyway.
Bald Eagle Lake.
So what I would suggest is that we actually make a motion to pledge a certain amount of money, or to donate a certain amount of money without making a long-term pledge until we add that into our CIP and consider other priorities that we're thinking about. So I will accept a motion.
You mean saying, don't be specific about the amount?
No, I think we need to be specific about a donation right now, but hold back on making a long-term pledge, which I know would benefit, and which we, in good faith, we may end up doing.
Sure, sure.
And you can consider a long-term pledge during the CIP process.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd rather wait,
Yeah,
and put all the cards on the table at that time. Yeah.
So I'll make a motion for the 2,500 there to be donated
Yes, to the,
To the Fly State College Fund.
yeah, Fly State College Fund. And second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Sit down? Okay, great. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
thank you all.
Thank you
Appreciate
for your
it.
energy and
Absolutely.
forward thinking.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Great. We're on now to public safety with our own Chief Jolly.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. We have a copy of the January Public Safety Report included in your materials. You'll see our officers stopped 155 cars. We wrote 25 citations, 34 parking tickets. That was one of the other snowstorms that we had, so we had a high volume of parking tickets again. And did 9 criminal arrests. Under department notes, there was a 57-year-old male who was charged with providing fake ID or false identification to law enforcement on various summary traffic offenses. One of our officers, actually on our divided highway, as we were talking about earlier, observed the vehicle improperly backing out of his vehicle in the traffic light. So he conducted a traffic stop, and the male was unable to produce any kind of physical identification, but verbally told the officer who he was. The officer conducted a very thorough investigation and decided to fingerprint the male because he could not vet any of the information that was provided to him. So he was taken for fingerprints, and lo and behold, the fingerprints revealed the male's true identity, which was not what he provided to the officer. I'm sure everybody can see where this is heading. He had some active warrants for his arrest, which is why he was giving us the fake ID. 37-year-old female was cited for harassment. She was engaged in a dispute with another driver over a parking spot in Township stores. The female, while engaged in that verbal dispute, physically struck the other driver. And then we had an 18-year-old male who was arrested for unauthorized use of a motorcycle. The male actually came into a township business after hours in the middle of the night. He was actually employed by that business. But he removed the motorcycle from that property. He knew that he was not authorized to do so, and ended up crashing and damaging the motorcycle. There was 4 arrests that were made for retail theft. We served 19 of the 21 warrants that we attempted, and we conducted 11 vacation home checks. We did use force during one incident in the month of January. Our officers were dispatched to assist the Pennsylvania State Police with a vehicle that was driving the wrong way on Interstate 99. One of our officers did locate that vehicle as it was driving on the wrong way on 99 and tried to get the vehicle to stop. Pursuit ensued, and the vehicle eventually did stop off the shoulder of the interstate, narrowly missing a head-on collision with a couple cars. The officer, as is our standard protocol, conducted a felony traffic stop, so we unholstered his weapon and pointed it at the vehicle while giving the occupants some commands to exit the vehicle. However, based on the circumstances present, he quickly determined that there was not a threat, so he holstered his weapon and dealt with the vehicles of the occupants appropriately. Under training department activities, our officers attended tactical response team training. Officer Tuskovich attended firearms instructor training. I've mentioned this before, but it really happened mainly in the month of January, a little bit of carryover into February. But all of our officers attended their mandatory updates and in-service training. And just to remind you, the topics this year included our legal updates, crisis intervention team training, trauma-informed policing, and responding to child abuse allegations. We also in-house trained on use of force, infectious disease control, hazardous materials, and first aid and CPR. Officer Snyder and Graff completed their 2 days of training. Graff was also deployed 2 times for narcotic sniffs, and then he was also requested by the State College Police Department, who had gotten into a foot pursuit with an individual, and they thought that possibly he went through a wooded area, so they thought possibly he had discarded some evidence while he was running, so Graff came out and helped to search for that. I'd like to recognize Sergeant Sean Albright for his 26 years of dedicated service to our department and our community. He retired from our agency back in January. And then subsequently, we hired 2 officers. So we hired Officer Derek Frable, who is currently an FTO. We'll try to get him here before the board is on days off right now, but maybe our next meeting will work out the schedule. But he's doing a fantastic job so far. He was hired in January 23rd. And then Officer Jacob Phillips is going to be replacing Detective Federico, who, spoiler alert, for my February report, just retired 2 weeks ago. But Officer Phillips is currently, we're sponsoring him in the academy. We do not have a police academy, so we're sponsoring him for that. Then I attended the Radio Advisory Committee meeting, the Big Brothers Big Sisters Advisory Council meeting, Criminal Justice Advisory Board meeting, the Children's Advocacy Center Advisory Committee meeting, and the Center County Chiefs meeting and CCU as well. Talked a lot about some of the things that the department does. Now's my time to brag about the officers. So, with a lot of stuff that we do, especially around the holidays, the Shop with the Cop and the Heroes and Helpers event, we received 2 correspondence specifically about the Heroes and Helpers, which again is where we partner with Target and the Youth Service Bureau. The top letter there is from a staff member with YSB, and I think the last sentence of that, I mean, the entire thing is impactful, but really what we try to accomplish really every day as police officers in our community, and especially dealing with juveniles, that her last statement says they really feel like they can trust you all. So just us interacting with these kids and these programs through YSB, I think made an impact on them and on us as well, too. And then the bottom correspondence or letter is actually from one of the participants, just thanking us for taking time to come out with them to Target and for the opportunity to shop. So we, again, had a great time. It was just really nice to receive those letters from those folks. Literally, as a police officer, and you see it in our calls for service, you never know what type of call you're going to respond to. But we did receive a very nice letter from an individual who had 2 horses that escaped from the property. So our officers, Officer Berhowski and Sergeant Schaefer, responded to help corral the horses and then to safely get them back to the barn where they belonged. Actually providing an escort along 550, one in front and one in back of the horses to make sure that they were able to safely get back to the barn. But again, her last paragraph I think is very impactful and speaks to the professionalism of our police officers. She says, "I'm incredibly grateful for their assistance. Their actions exemplified a strong commitment to public service and community and just all around kindness. I feel very fortunate to live in Patton Township." So I appreciated her taking the time to reach out. This next one, certainly going above and beyond, not things that I tell our officers to do, but again, speaks to the testing of the caliber of officers we have. This was on our social media, it was on our posted on our Facebook page. Apparently one of our officers, after one of those big snowstorms, saw one of our residents out, hand shoveling their snow, just happened to stop by and say, "Hey, do you need a hand with anything?" They mentioned they needed a hand at that point, but they greatly appreciated them stopping and taking the time to ask and meet their request. Speaking of the airport, so I don't know if you remember seeing in the news, since it happened a little over a month ago now, but on January 18th, there was a individual who was inside the State College Regional Airport. He was armed with a knife and under the influence of some controlled substances. So being that we're so close, that is Penn State property, so they patrol it. We have a sheriff's department usually staffed there as well. But they asked for our assistance. The individual was inside, was destroying some property, and again had a knife. He was armed with a knife. So our officers, Craig Sottolini and friend, responded. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. The individual was again still damaging property behind one of the car of desks. They found that he was still armed with a knife and was demanding to be shot. So our officers did a really good job of just containing him, establishing a perimeter to make sure he didn't damage any more property, that he was not harming himself, and that he could not harm anybody else that was around. So they did a great job of, again, trying to calm him down, trying to de-escalate him. He would not give up the knife, but that bought us time to deploy the tactical response team. We talk about them a lot. Part of that team, or attached to that team, was our negotiating team as well. So Detective Soleil responded as a negotiator, and Officer Tuskovich responded as a tactical team operator. So Detective Soleil took over negotiations, and she was not really gaining a lot of compliance from him. He really didn't want to comply with the police. However, she was able to get to the point where we were able to use a less lethal device. We used a taser to incapacitate him in order for us to gain compliance and to get him in custody. He did not suffer any injuries. One of our officers did get cut by a knife as they were taking him into custody. He did have the knife still in his hand. And when I say our officers, I mean separation, not necessarily Patton Township. But one of them did suffer a small cut, laceration on his hand. But truly it was due to the professional response and teamwork displayed by our officers and all of the officers, because of course the state college was there, Patton, Ferguson, Penn State, the Penn State Police. So it truly was a unified response. That they, an armed subject with a serious threat to community and safety was contained and taken into custody without any issue. So huge shout out to the officers. They did a fantastic job. The next correspondence is actually a letter from Penn State from Sergeant Nick Sperberry, who was the incident commander at the time for Penn State University Police, just giving, again, a thank you letter to our officers, pretty much the same thing that Sergeant Nick wrote in his acknowledgement. And then lastly, I have a photo of Officer, a photo of Officer Friebel being sworn in as police officer in front of District Justice Casey McLean. So he's doing a fantastic job so far. Very last thing for me, the record list of calls for service. We handled 474 in January. 96 of those were school checks, and 55 were health and safety EMS assists. And then the very, very last thing I want to mention is we finally did get confirmation this week that we are able to use the same space that we've used for the past 23 years. So the 24th annual Children's Safety Fair, put on your calendars, May 16th, from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. in the parking lot between Target and Kohl's. We are going to be able to use that space, and we're very excited to be able to use it this one last time here. So that.
May 16th?
May 16th.
I'm going to put that down there.
until 3 p.m.
That's right, I think I have it down. Good for you. Good for us.
That's the same date as the Multicultural Children's Festival.
So the problem that we always have is no matter what date we pick, we're always fighting with events. That's why we actually chose the spring, kind of the spring, and
Yeah.
We'll send them.
we can do that. So, yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
It's been in the news a lot. Has your department been approached by Immigration and Customs Enforcement for trying to be enrolled in the 287G program?
No, I've been here for 24 years, and they've never approached us, and we've never considered it.
Okay.
Okay, just, sorry, I'm writing down Children's Safety Fair now. Thank you for letting me do that. So we're back on track, at least I am, public safety. Thank you, Public Works. We're going on to that section. We are not, however, addressing the 400 acres program because we still need to do some more work on that before it's brought before us. So we're on to item B, which is identifying the best governing documents for the CRPR authority to achieve its mission purpose.
Yeah, so the Parks and Rec Governance Special Committee completed a final review of the draft intergovernmental relationship agreement, which is made to be entered into by and between Center Region Parks and Rec Authority, Center Region Parks and Rec Agency, the COP, and each of the municipalities. The agreement outlines the roles and responsibilities and is intended to formalize the relationship and cooperation among the parties to coordinate and manage parks, recreation, and related services in the region. This was forwarded to all of the participating municipalities for review and recommendation. The Recreation Advisory Committee reviewed the agreement at their January meeting. They didn't have any comments on it. So if you have any comments on this, I will forward this back to the COG before the deadline of March 18th.
Anyone study and have comments? I have not had a chance to look at it thoroughly, so I would like to have more time for that. And that was enclosed.
Yes.
Yes,
So
okay.
you do not have any comments?
Anybody else on the board have comments?
Okay.
I apologize, I didn't get to reading that. Okay, so no comments at this point. Our next item is planning and zoning. So the planning commission report, but staff will.
Yeah, I'll just give that to you since most of what they did was the park forest, the conditional use lot consolidation plan. But also I wanted to mention, because when you looked at the Meeks Lane pump station, the planning commission had expressed concern they hadn't had a chance to actually review it properly. We did have someone from HRG at their meeting in February, so they got a better chance to review it. They asked questions and got their questions answered.
Okay.
So
great.
they will actually have a training next Monday.
Sounds good.
Strategic Solutions is doing a training on the role of the planning commission, because I think there's some confusion about what they do and do not do. So they're going to give them a good basic training.
Yeah, and that was the flyer that we got at the.
No, that's separate. That's
okay.
That's stuff through the Center Region COG. This is a separate training that they're doing for our planning
For
commission.
our particular planning commission. Great, okay. Thanks. Okay, we're on to administration. So back to you.
Okay, so these next two items, relate to when we were doing the 2026 operating budget. We talked about the need to look at some new solutions for finding revenue, rather than just relying on our property taxes, because of course, property taxes are regressive and we don't have a lot of options in Pennsylvania. So the first item that we're going to talk about is a proposal from Allegheny Strategy Partners. So over the past year, the Center Region municipalities, and it was all 5 of us, State College, Ferguson, Patton, and Harris Townships, have been meeting with Allegheny Strategy Partners to discuss the potential development of legislative and policy proposals that are aimed at recovering our municipal costs associated with high-volume visitation to the area. So this could mean, for example, there's a hotel tax, but we get none of the hotel tax. That money goes to the county to be used for tourism. So this would look at, is there an opportunity to work with the legislature to enable the hotel tax to be levied at a higher percentage and then shared with municipalities and the counties? Again, one proposal. Another proposal would be, and this one's probably less likely, but still one we're going to look at, could we levy a tax on drinks? There's a pour tax that's in Allegheny County, and there's also in Philadelphia. Could we do something here where we would get revenue for drinks that are sold in our community? Again, all very concept level that we've been discussing. And Allegheny Strategy Partners is made up of folks that have a ton of experience lobbying. There are old, former legislators that are involved with this group. So they've put together a 6-month work plan to look at a regional local government revenue, innovative, and sustainability plan. Basically to go out, talk with stakeholders, find out how likely it would be that we could actually look at and get some action from the legislature on some different revenue streams. And again, not just married to a poor tax, not married to a hotel tax, looking at a couple of different avenues. What's interesting is the issues that we have due to high volume tourism, which is related generally around Penn State University and the outdoor recreation things in the summer, is not unique to Center County or the Center Region. For example, Poconos is another high tourist traffic area. The World Cup is being hosted in Philadelphia this year. That is going to be impacting the rim counties around Philadelphia. Lancaster County is another one that has a lot of tourism. So anything that we would do would not just probably benefit us, would probably end up benefiting others in the state. But we wanted to kind of, instead of just saying, let's get a lobbying, effort going, let's spend 6 months, let's explore if there's any ability for us to get some of this through the legislature, because obviously we can't enact these taxes on our own. So they've put together a proposal. It would be $5,000 a month for 6 months, so $30,000, and we would split the cost between the partners based on the percentage of liquor licenses in our municipalities. So we have 23 licenses in Patton Township. Now, I will tell you that Harris Township has since voted not to be a part of this, so it would be split amongst 4 of us. So the percentages changed slightly. But our total cost would be $6,900 for the 6-month period. And then again, this might change if others don't sign on, but it seems that College Township will discuss this next week. The borough's going to discuss it, and Ferguson are going to discuss it at their meetings. And again, we would have the opportunity, if we're the last one standing, we could certainly say maybe this isn't what we want to do. But staff, Larry and I have talked about this, and because this is a way for us to look at a different funding strategy, because I think the thing that we heard pretty loud and clear and that we talked about with residents during the budget development is we need more tools in our toolbox. And the state of Pennsylvania hasn't been the most forthcoming in giving us those tools. They haven't actually looked at or amended the tax code since 1965 when it was originally enacted. So
Since 1965.
So
Yeah,
we're
I
only
think
allowed to levy our earned income tax at 0.5%. We're not allowed to raise that or lower that, change that in any way, which causes us issues. Certainly if we could raise that, we probably would never have to raise our property taxes because we would have a steadier stream of income. We also get money from the real estate transfer tax, but that again is a 0.5% on property that's sold in the township. And that's variable, that depends on properties being sold.
And that's fixed too?
Yes, and then the property tax rate is the only thing we can change. And the problem that we have is property taxes are regressive in that everybody pays them. So earned income tax, if you're retired in Pennsylvania, you don't pay earned income tax. The way the taxing code is set up, there are other ways that you don't pay that. If you own a property in Pennsylvania, you pay property taxes. And so it's not really fair of us to continue to go out and ask our residents to bear the cost for things that really they're not doing. A good example, again, I'll go back to the hotel tax. The hotel tax is on hotels and also short-term rentals. We know that we have probably about 350 short-term rentals in the township. We're working through the regulations and trying to identify them. We don't get any tax revenue from them, yet our police have to respond to short-term rentals for all kinds of issues. So you're asking our long-term residents to bear the brunt of paying for short-term rentals.
The county gets it?
The county gets the hotel tax and then it's designated for tourism.
And is there a tax on short-term rentals now?
The short-term rentals are required to pay the hotel tax. I will tell you that not all of them do.
I understand it's not necessary.
But they do pay it, and the ones that pay it, it goes to the county, and then they use that for tourism.
And what percentage do you know?
I actually don't know what it is since we don't levy it.
Because I'll tell you, Florida, because I used to have property there that I used for short-term rentals, and they charge a lot, and the county and the local governments would get it.
Yeah, we have a
big revenue source.
We have a very outdated tax code in this state, and there hasn't been a lot of movement. But again, the benefit of Allegheny Strategy Partners is they have former legislators that are working with them that have the in and can do some of this inroads for us. And after 6 months, we can decide, okay, this isn't going anywhere, or look, we think this is going to happen, we need this amount of money to move forward. But this gives us a little more control in having these conversations, right? Because we can have the same conversations every year, but at the end of the day, if we don't do something legislatively, your other option is to go home rule. But going home rule is a whole other process, and the voters have to approve it, and then you have to write a charter, and it's not going to solve anything anytime soon, right? And Ferguson and State College are both home rule, and they can raise their earned income tax, which we can't. They can raise the real estate transfer tax, which we can't. But this is probably a better option. I feel like, I know Larry and I talked about it, for us to kind of move the ball forward a little bit to see what traction we can get to try to help us out.
So do I understand it that we're hiring these people as consultants or as people who are as lobbyists?
They're a lobbying firm, yes.
Okay.
But they're going to do the first phase is doing the groundwork to see what, they're going to talk with the stakeholders to see what, the feeling is if we're floating some of these proposals. When Allegheny County did their poor tax, the drink tax, it wasn't very popular at first, right? And they got it through. I don't know that that would work here because that's again something that has to be explored. They have to go out and talk with license holders. They have to talk with the Pennsylvania, there's a lobbying group for the restaurants and taverns in Pennsylvania, talk with them. But they have the expertise, the knowledge, and the personnel to do that. I mean, I would love to say that I could go out and do that, but I don't know anybody to talk to about this.
But so this would change, are you talking about lobbying legislators in Harrisburg?
Yes.
And so it would impact all of Pennsylvania?
No, when they did the poor tax is just for Allegheny County
Oh.
and just for Philadelphia. Philadelphia also, I think, has another tax on, they have a bunch of different
So if we
taxes.
wanted a port tax just for the central region, say,
Just for, yeah,
or whatever, that is something that we have to go to the state legislature for.
Yes.
Yes.
And they would say, all the people from all over the state would say, it's okay for the center region to have a port tax.
yes.
Okay, interesting.
It's not dissimilar to how they do, for example, like the red light cameras in Pennsylvania right now. They're only authorized in 3 counties around Philadelphia, and they're trying to expand it to the Harrisburg area.
Gotcha.
So they can carve out for us.
Okay.
But this, again, this is an exploration. It is a little bit of expenditure of funds. However, in my mind, I think this is a good use of our funds to try to see what leverage we can get to move ourselves forward.
And may in fact pay for itself in a couple of years.
And then there's the Larry question.
Yes.
Cough up the fund?
Well, you know, if, like she said, if we're the last one standing and it's $5,000 a month for us, then no, we'd have to back
And we
out.
can get out of it?
But,
Yeah.
but if we can share it with our municipal partners, yeah, I think as it says in here, we can assign some of the money that we get from the liquor license holders. We get about $6,500 every 6 months from them, maybe a little bit less. But we can assign some of that money to pay for this.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, the liquor license holders in our township, that would be autos?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Commercial establishments?
Every license holder in
Okay.
our township that would include Sheets.
And they pay a fee to the state of Pennsylvania, and then
Okay.
the state of Pennsylvania remits the fee back to us. So that's how we get the money back.
That's correct.
They don't pay a fee to us directly.
Okay.
No.
Cool. I didn't realize that. Any other questions? So I think we need a
And
motion.
if you go with a port tax, yes, the Tavern Association is not going to be in favor of it. They weren't in favor of it in Philadelphia. They weren't in favor of it in Allegheny County. But I have a very good friend who owns a neighborhood bar in Allegheny County and went through that with him because I file that form for him every month. It had no impact on his business in the end.
Okay. So we're looking at a motion and then a second. And you're welcome to read the motion as listed there, or? Are you reading it, Heidi? Is that?
Yeah, I'm getting it, I'm
Okay.
sorry, but I mean, you know, I heard what Amy said, so.
It's at the top of page 11.
Page 11.
Or I can just read the motion. I'm wanting somebody to make a motion to accept the Allegheny Strategic Partners proposal and then to enter into an agreement for the regional local government revenue innovation and sustainability plan. Can I have somebody to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, great. All those in favor, or any other discussion? And those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, and opposed? Great, good, go for it. It'd be interesting. We're now on to the item B, which is the Pennsylvania Economy League Land Government Initiative Lab. That is a mouthful.
Yes, so this is the second part of the, we're looking for other ways to raise revenue. So the Pennsylvania Economy League, commonly called PEL, is a nonprofit, nonpartisan public policy organization, and they launched the Local Government Innovation Lab, which is a new statewide initiative designed to help Pennsylvania's local governments tackle fiscal, operational, and policy challenges. And so when they put this out, and it was out in November, they said they were going to pick 2 municipalities from each of the 5 regions of the state to work with. And it came out right at the time that we had the conversation about finding additional revenue. And we had talked maybe about an amusement tax. So I put in a proposal that they help us evaluate if an amusement tax makes any sense for Patton Township. And then additionally, because when I was researching amusement taxes, there's really nothing that tells you the guidelines to go through to figure out if you want to do this. So I said additionally, you could actually create something that could be used by anybody then that's looking in the state to look at an amusement tax. So we were one of the lucky ones that our proposal was selected. And we are meeting, Larry and I are meeting with them tomorrow to talk about the project, the timeline, the next steps. We'll, of course, keep you guys informed, but I wanted to update you that we're doing this. I'm very excited about it because I think this is a great opportunity, again, to explore another avenue for us. And again, this is also a high-volume tourism kind of thing.
Yeah.
In 10:30. Amusement taxes apply not only to amusement attractions, but also to golf courses. So we have the Nittany Valley Sports Center, and we also have the Tough Trees Golf Course. So I think we have some leeway there. I think this might work for us, but we're excited to get started on this proposal.
Great, thank you.
Movie theaters, things like that too?
No.
Thanks for taking that initiative.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Woo-hoo, okay.
I
Super.
was volunteered. Voluntold.
You're voluntold. Oh, gotcha. Yes, I'm familiar with that process a lot. So our next item is a request from the Justice Symposium to Strategies for Justice, which holds a symposium every year. They're holding one in April, and they're asking for a donation from the township of a certain amount. Last year we gave them $1,000. So the sponsorships can range from $500 to $5,000. And for those of you who don't know, the Strategies for Justice is organized, run by Patton's own Terry Watson.
And Terry's online if you
Oh.
have any questions for him.
Good heavens, I didn't even Hey, Terry.
Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I have a family emergency, but I figured if there's
Oh,
questions,
I hope
it's
so. All right.
go on.
Yeah. Sorry I didn't see you up there, Terry. So, Terry, do you have anything else you want to add? There you are. You have something you want to add?
Maybe I can turn on my camera, maybe that helps. The only thing I'll add is that this year, the theme is looking at immigration and the criminalization of immigration in America. And the one thing I would add is it's a tough topic to discuss, but a very necessary topic to discuss. When we looked at providing the theme for this year, like always, we try to address the topic that needs the most conversations. And back in August, that was looking at immigrants in America.
Yeah.
So I will say I appreciate whatever sponsorship you're able to provide. Last year, I will report though that last year, because of the sponsorship, we were able to, our attendees came from every state except for 3 states in this country. We had attendees from all around the country attend last year's symposium, and we're hoping to do the same thing this year.
It's pretty impressive. Great, thank you for that. So, board members, any comments?
We have the $1,000 budgeted.
We keep on shaking the
Yeah.
purse there.
We put that one in the budget.
That was in the budget.
Hey, see, Terry, you've arrived. I like that. Okay. So any board member want to make a motion? Include a sponsorship level?
Do you want to do the $1,000 again?
I make the motion that we do the $1,000 motion for the symposium on April the 2nd.
Justice. I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Then a call for the vote. Ayes. The ayes. Will the ayes have it? Everybody say aye if you agree with it. Ayes. Any nays? Any opposed? So the ayes have it. Congratulations, Terry, and thank you for all you do. Yeah,
Thank you. And I tried to look at in person, but just the difficult times today, so.
No, sometimes life doesn't allow us to do what we really want to do. So it sounds like you're right where you need to be. Great. Thank you so much. And yeah, glad to be able to support that. We are on to the consent agenda, and we've got 4 items listed there. And of course, all I need is somebody to move that we should approve the items on the agenda, and then we'll need a second.
So move to accept the consent agenda.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Consent agenda, check that off, passes. Manager's report, what we've all been waiting for.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Larry do the first thing, which is on the COG fund balance.
Oh, Larry's
Okay,
excited.
so, yes, the COG fund balance policy. So COG staff presented a draft of the COG fund balance policy at the February 12th, 2026 Finance Committee meeting. The Finance Committee has been working on this fund balance policy for well over 1 year. It has been revised by the Finance Committee and is already, and it's almost ready to be presented to the general forum. I just wanted to update you to make you aware that you'll be seeing this fund balance policy sometime during the month of March, and you'll be asked to provide any feedback. It's like 58 pages long. It's riveting. It's great reading. It's a page turner. Don't jump to the end and try to see what's. But the next steps is that they're gonna, for the Finance Committee, is that they're gonna compile all the current fund balances and present an implementation plan, because we expect that some balances are going to be above the fund balance policy. There's going to be some that we've cannibalized in the last couple budget cycles that are going to be below the fund balance, so we're going to have to pony up some money for those ones.
Okay, interesting.
Fund balances, not all fund balances are the same in COG. Some fund balances affect all 6 partners. Some fund balances only might affect 4 partners, so you can't move balances from this fund to this fund and cover it. So we're going to have to create some sort of implementation plan for the fund balance policy. So they're hoping that they'll present the fund balance policy with all the comments, I believe, at the April General Forum meeting for review and possible adoption.
Okay.
So I just wanted to let you know that it was coming down the pike. There's nothing to do right now, but when you see this big document, I want you to get, excited.
And can I just add, because I have that perspective of a newbie that doesn't have the finance background that you have.
Sure.
That, Larry's helped explain some of this, but the finance directors have all worked on this in conjunction with the political elected officials, elected officials, and this would bring it into alignment, my understanding, with standard sort of accounting practices and a uniformity, with some exceptions that there always are with these different accounts, but there's quite a few of them. And at first, when I'm hearing it's like it's going to save money, but in the short term, to get everything aligned, that's where he's talking about the pony up. So there might be some inclination to say, why do we have to spend money when we're supposed to be saving it and the finance directors want it? But it's just to get everything lined up. There's going to be some growing pains that they're going to try to spread out 3 years, 4 years, I don't know what target. I think that's something to work through. There's going to be an executive summary written that will help so that people don't have to read the whole riveting novel as well,
Yes.
right? And
That's
maybe
correct.
some cliff notes to help along as well. But just to understand that the finance directors themselves want this and have been working on this in conjunction with the elected officials.
Right, and this is a result of you listening to me complain about, you know, how much fund balance, how much money is COG holding that we could actually, so this will minimize the amount, this will standardize and minimize the amount of funds that COG will be holding of our money. They'll have just enough.
It gives clarity.
It gives
There's a lot more
clarity.
in
That's
terms of
correct.
where the money is, where the pockets are.
That's correct.
And also, a lot of it is to give in the insurance of the people, the day-to-day people that are dedicated to providing services, the confidence that they have the money day by day, week by week as well.
Yeah.
And they understand the process
And
as well.
we hear Larry talk about that every year in regards to our balance.
Right.
We know how much money, what percentage we need to be at, because
Right.
taxes don't come in until
Correct.
February, yada, 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 so.
COG's a little different animal. They get money every month.
Yeah, but it's
Some-
only fair, yeah.
Some of us pay monthly, some of us pay quarterly, but
Yeah.
they're getting money. They're not like us where we get, you know, 48% of our money comes in the months of March and April.
Yeah. Is there going to be an audio version of that?
We need an audiobook version. We'll have to read it.
Yeah.
Because you know what?
We'll have
Maybe I
Larry-
can record that.
Because I need something,
Anybody have a recording studio? that
because
can-
I need something to go to sleep by.
Yeah, you might have, yeah.
We know how to do that, we might know a person. Okay, and then I just have two things. Number one is, don't forget the Center County Solar Group meeting, which is Friday at 8:30. That's over at the Panorama Village Administrative Center. That's over at,
Do you anticipate how much time that will be?
hopefully.
I don't anticipate it being a very long meeting, but it all depends on how many comments and questions may be asked.
And I would suggest if you're going to get there early to ensure you get a parking space and a seat. I have a feeling there could be a lot of
It's
people
not,
there.
is it at the Panorama Building or is it the club?
Sorry, Heidi.
Yeah, that's all.
Hey, now you've been
They
training.
moved, they moved.
Yeah, they had to move
Move
because
it,
they
yeah.
had some issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also a Zoom.
Is
There's
there
also a
link?
Zoom link?
Well, there was maybe.
Yeah,
Well, maybe
I
there is
think
because
there
they
is
moved
It
it.
makes sense.
Yeah, because they moved it.
yeah.
Okay.
And then the only other thing, and he's still online, so I can say thank you to him out loud and publicly. I just want to thank Supervisor Magruder. He drove down to Hershey to my executive development conference, and he participated in our theatrical session called the Wheel of Misfortune. He was Mr. Roderick Beauregard, representing elected officials from Schmatten Township, Center County. And Ben Estelle was Kevin Flattery, representing municipal managers. There's a Kevin Flannery as a municipal manager in Pennsylvania. We had a great session. I got a lot of great compliments, and a lot of people came up to me later and said, "Is he really one of your elected officials and he wanted to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, he is, and I'm lucky." So. And I have video. So Treese Martin took video of the first 3 minutes, so after the meeting I can play it for you.
All right, all right.
It was a lot of fun. So with that, I'll answer any other questions that you might have.
Great. Are you gonna nominate him for some kind of Oscars? Are they eligible for Oscars or Emmys?
Great, we should give out the Patton Township Oscars.
Okay, I'm just
Okay.
saying.
Some
Okay.
patties.
Thank you, Manager. Committee reports. Anyone want to add? And I know Ms. Rock wants to, and anyone else who's on a committee wants to make a comment can do so. So I'll just go by people's raising their hand. People raising their hands. Yes, people's, okay.
Okay, for public safety, and I apologize, I report over to Amy in time. We voted on the 86B plow at the general forum on Monday. But we also talked about the 15 activities at Penn State. What came up in public safety were the concerns of traffic. We talked about it. And we also had concerns on as Penn State is moving forward to use the stadium for different activities, how it's going to affect our community. What we decided as a community was to bring it back for feedback to all our municipalities to find out how our colleagues, did you have any complaints on, the traffic congestion during the two events, which were the
Hockey game.
hockey and the concert.
Yes.
A lot of our concerns came about in case of an emergency. I've got to give props to Penn State. They had all of their top individuals at our board meeting to answer those questions. But as we're moving forward, we want to be able to work together with Penn State on any new activities that they're going to be using for the stadium. Now, 15 events that weekend was unheard of. And we were concerned about, had they talked to our police departments, had they set up a perimeter to let the community know, because we were hearing feedback about the congestion and the concern of, in case of an emergency, how were the emergency vehicles getting to them and getting them over to the hospital. So as we're working together, our Public Safety Committee would like for our board members to think about any ideas of working with Penn State, whether you heard complaints, to give me feedback so I can take it back to the Public Safety Committee.
Anybody have any feedback right now?
But, think about it, and as to our township manager and chief also, anything that you might think of how we are moving forward, because Julian couldn't tell us what Penn State was looking to add on to as they're moving forward to using the stadium.
So I can give you some feedback. Not with public safety, but I could hardly find a place to park when I went down on a Friday afternoon thinking I could find a place. So I think just a general announcement, more than just Julian telling us at the general forum, because in hindsight, I had remembered he warned us about that, but it didn't quite sink in. So we're all prepared for a football weekend. We know not to go downtown and try to park. It might be a good idea if they could put out some alert, and we would have it on websites or have it on next door neighbor, that type of thing.
So the other thing I would add too is it's not just Penn State. The Happy Valley Adventure Bureau is planning events all summer, and they told us at the Economic Development Council meeting they're making Memorial Day this entire thing. And there's also the stuff that happens in Bollesburg on Memorial Day, and that kind of guts up traffic. So I think, and I mentioned this to Adam Brumbaugh from College Township, there needs to be a regional discussion. These events are great, but these events are taxing for our residents that live here. It took me an hour to get from Mount Whitney Middle School to campus for the hockey game because it was sheer gridlock. But that also happened when they had the Luke Combs concert in Beaver Stadium back in 2024. So there needs to be a conversation around all of these events, that there's an impact, and that impact needs to be accounted for in some way. Because you're right, on a football weekend, we know what to do.
Yep.
A whiteout, we got that down pat. You go to the grocery store by Wednesday, you're in the house, you don't go downtown until Monday when it's done. But when you have 15 events on a winter weekend and people everywhere, and our hotels were full, the short-term rentals were full, all the things, which is great. But the flip side is if you live here, it's difficult. And you're right about not being able to get emergency vehicles through. Yeah. I think those are all, I had a friend who had a baby in the middle of football season, and she was handed a piece of paper saying, this is how you get to the stadium if you go into labor during a football game. And it, literally step-by-step, turn-by-turn instructions. This is what you tell the police officer manning this is how you do it. If we have to do that for every event, that's great, but our residents need to know this stuff is happening.
Yeah.
But I also want to give props to Penn State, because at that meeting, they had all of their big players there. The EMS, they talked about that Penn State has 16 beds. They had emergency staff ready. But we're saying we're not pointing the finger at them.
Right.
No,
We
no.
want to work with them.
Yeah, be proactive.
As the community,
Mhm.
to hear, chief, our police departments, our EMS departments, how to work with us to get the word out at our board meetings, that
Well,
we got 15 events coming. They also talked about the Big Ten, what was different. They compared, they gave us a comparison to the Big Ten football stadiums and what they look to, and that they looked at Penn State as one of the best doing but Penn State is still smaller than some of the Big Ten. So, as we sit down at the table, and when I'm going to go back for feedback, that we all sit together, and I'm going to hear from all the other municipalities what they came up with. But the bottom line is working together. Thanks to Amy and EMS, I talked about Jonathan, Sean Kaufman, our fire director. For the first time, the snowstorm, they all had the same message. That was 2 years in the making.
More than 2.
Everyone had the same message. They talked about parking because of the snowstorm. This event, people that normally would park on the grass couldn't because of the snow. So as we work together, and it is going to be working with Penn State, working with our different municipalities, working with all the entities, that we come up with a great plan for everyone. So thank you as I'm taking the feedback back.
Any other comments from other committees? Regarding?
This is very brief, but I attended, it was just last night, and I'll try to write something up, but the CCMPO, which was hosted here, by the way, to thank for us. They had it really nicely set up, and the acoustics was wonderful and everything. I'm going, they are setting up a training, so I'm going to it. I don't know if anybody else was interested in it, but it's because I'm a newbie and there's a lot to learn. I recognize that with the whole process with MPO. The other thing, though, I wanted to mention that might be of interest to other people is they're doing a grant training. That's on March 30th, and I didn't know, are you aware of that from staff? Are you sending anybody?
I don't know that we are. I'll talk to Michelle. She does all of our transportation grants.
Okay, I'm planning to go. I asked, does it make sense for as elected official? Yes, and I'd like to understand the process. So I am planning to go, so I don't know if anyone else was interested. That's it.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else? And welcome aboard again. Supervisor Cruzy. Okay. Anything else for any other business? Okay. Then I think item 12 needs a motion. Okay, great, that's adjournment. Okay, we don't need a second for that, so we are hereby adjourned.